Hello, are you all there? Well, I'm privileged to welcome all of you once again to the show, to our time together to Mana Handy Tips. And as you know, we do meet every Saturday on a weekly basis because we can exchange tips and there are important things that we need to discuss, talk about that to help us manage things that we're going through or maybe people we know are going through. So today is Mana Handy Tips 6. Wow, we've been together for some time, haven't we? All right, today we're there to talk about one other condition that is so critical in our society, which is osteoporosis. And if you remember last time we talked about osteoarthritis, and when you hear osteo in both, you can understand there is certain relationship between those because they both have to deal with the bone in our body. So, what is osteoporosis? Before we define it further, let's talk about the bone. Our bone is a living tissue, actually, that is constantly being broken down and replaced. So, osteoporosis occurs when the creation of new bone doesn't keep up with our losing the old ones. Remember, degeneration, regeneration is the same thing that's occurring. Yes, since we lose cells but can't replace them anymore, one of the consequences, you guess it, is the osteoporosis. So, as tissues, cells, or bones are being lost and can be replaced, that's where we come to osteoporosis. And this affects both men and women. So it's everybody's disease, everybody's issue. Okay, but especially older women are at risk here. Okay, they are at the highest risk actually. So let's break it down some more while we still are waiting more subscribers to come on, more friends to come on. Osteoporosis simply means porous bone. The osteo being the bone. So those kind of bones have lost mass and have abnormal tissue composition in them. So as these bones become less dense, they weaken and they're more likely to break. So that means we in the osteoporosis world. And this do happen unfortunately to many of our dear loved ones as they're aging. So let's talk about the symptoms. What symptoms do we have? Usually there are no symptoms in the early stages of bone loss. But once your bones have been weakened by osteoporosis, you might have signs and symptoms that include the following: back pain, which is caused by a fractured or collapsed vertebra, simply the bone in our back. Loss of height over time, a stoop posture, a bone that breaks much more easily than expected. So when you have any of those or a combination of these, you might have osteoporosis. But remember, we mentioned in the description of our time today that is a silent killer, is a silent disease. So before you get to know you're going through this, it has happened already and is to an advanced state. That's why it's a silent killer and silent disease that is occurring already without big signs that you can tell that something's going on. Okay, so these are the symptoms. By the time you have a hunch posture, By the time you have persistent back pain, that means you advanced with osteoporosis. So why don't we talk about the causes? Because if it's a silent killer, by the time you find out it's already way on the way, we have to know the causes, if possible, to prevent those. When you agree. It's so nice to have all of you here today. So let's keep talking about osteoporosis. What are the causes? Our bones are being renewed constantly, okay? Like we just mentioned. So new bone is made and old bone is broken down. When we're young, our body makes new bone faster than it breaks down because we're young and strong, right? And this means that your bone dense mass increases. That's when you're young, when I'm young. Now, how likely you are to develop osteoporosis as you age partly depends on how much bone you've attained in your youth. So how we're growing as we're young could be the laying the background for osteoporosis in the future. So several factors, many factors can increase that likelihood that you might have it, including age, your lifestyle choices, and some medical condition and treatment. Yes, even these might lead you to osteoporosis. So let's talk about this a little bit more so we kind of have a better idea where we stand with this silent killer. Let's talk about hormone levels. You know, osteoporosis is more common in people who have too much or too little of certain hormones in their bodies. Some examples will include sex hormones. Yeah, when these are lowered, that tend to weaken the bone. And actually, estrogen level in women at time of menopause is one of the strongest risk factors for developing osteoporosis later on. What about men? Well, men also, they have a gradual reduction in testosterone levels as they age. Treatment for prostate cancer, for example, that reduce that level in men, and some treatment that go in the same line for breast cancer that reduce estrogen levels in women, they're likely to kind of accelerate bone loss. So you see, we have some other issues. We go to get it solved, and it's creating others. That's how it is with the hormone levels. What else? Thyroid problems. You know, too much thyroid hormone can cause bone loss. And this can happen if your thyroid is overactive or if you have too much thyroid hormone medication to treat an underactive thyroid. Here again, if naturally you have too much hormone problem, or maybe you don't have enough and you taking medication to bring it up, that can cause osteoporosis as well. And other glands fall in the same area that can do the same thing, because this silent killer can be associated with overactive parathyroid and adrenal glands. You say, well, Mana, we speaking a little big words today. It's just for the sake of what we're discussing today. We have different glands in our body, and some of them overreact, and that may cause or worsen osteoporosis. That's the case of our thyroid glands and our parathyroid glands and adrenal glands. Okay? Now, so these are at the level of hormones. What about other factors like dietary factors? Remember, we are what we eat. Well, it verifies itself again in this case. All right. So, low calcium intake. Well, a lifelong lack of calcium plays a big role in you're having to deal with osteoporosis one day. Why? Because low calcium intake contribute to reduce bone density. It's quite understandable that when you age, osteoporosis is present. What about some eating disorders? Well, if you severely restrict your food intake and you happen to be underweight, that weakens the bone. So we want to be careful when we're on a diet. We want to choose to be on the proper diet. You want to ensure we still have enough calcium intake. We don't want to have any kind of eating disorder. Of course, some people end up having eating disorder not because they're on a diet. So we know that. But either way, being aware helps us, doesn't it? Okay. So, and this is in both men and women. What else can be a risk factor for this disease? Well, gastrointestinal surgery. These are the kind of surgery to reduce the size of your stomach or to remove part of the intestine limit. And what does it do? Well, it reduces the amount of surface available to absorb nutrients, including calcium. So these kind of surgeries also, although they might help lose weight, they pose a risk, and they're gonna cause gastrointestinal disorder. And actually, I'm sad to have to say I do know I have friends that are going through this right now, having this type of surgery and now ongoing struggle because of the consequences. So we want to be aware once again. Now, we've just talked about some eating disorders and other, let's say, surgeries that you might end up having. What about some medications? Some that can be very strong, like steroids. Well, long-term use, or whether it's injected or oral, of steroid medication such as prednisone or cortisone, they interferes with the bone rebuilding process. If I remember well, in my own experience, when we prescribe these things, it's for a short period of time, usually. This is one of the reasons why, because it messes up with your being able to rebuild your bone loss. So, we know. And you know what? This disease has also been associated with such medications as for those to prevent seizures or gastric reflux, even cancer or transplant rejection. Why? Once some people get transplant in their body, they are on that kind of medication for some time. They may pause this issue as well. So let's talk a little bit further about some medical conditions and procedures that again are within whatever can pose a risk for osteoporosis. Well, we're talking about diseases like celiac disease, kidney or liver disease, cancer, lupus, and rheumatoid arthritis. If you remember, we did discuss this last time while talking about osteoarthritis, and we mentioned along with rheumatoid arthritis, this is one of the type of arthritis there are. Well, if you've had that, what can also happen in your life is that can lead to osteoporosis. So if you have any of these diseases, you might want to check with your doctor to make sure to know what to do to keep your bones healthy, because any kind of these conditions can lead to osteoporosis because they are risk factors for it. What about medical procedures? Well, we just talked about the GI, the gastroectomy and the gastrointestinal bypass procedures that reduce the size of your stomach or the size of your intestine through weight loss surgery. So when these type of surgeries are done, obviously they also pose a high risk for you as you aging to develop osteoporosis later on. We understand sometimes these are necessary to save lives, but we're not telling anyone that if the doctor says you need these, that you shouldn't get them. But what we're saying is we're explaining that these pose high risk to end up having osteoporosis. So what we need to do is ensure that we're taking measures to kind of reduce the risk that we might have. At this time, we're going to talk about two things, which is pregnancy, which also may lead to osteoporosis, except that in this case, it is a temporary situation. Why? We know as baby are developing, they use a lot of calcium, and that can weaken the bone. And if we don't make sure after giving birth, or even while we make sure that our calcium intake is so strong that this temporary decrease in bone density that we might have doesn't turn into having that disease for a long time, leading to other issues. We want to have babies. I'm thankful and very happy I have mine, but it takes a lot out of our bodies. And this is one of the situations where pregnancy and lactation can take all the calcium out of the mommy's body, and as that person is aging one day, it can be a factor for osteoporosis if in the meantime it's not reversed. All that calcium that has been taken out of the mommy's body, we just want to make sure that it's replenished sooner than later. And when it's done, then we ensure that at least having osteoporosis one day is not caused by the joy of having a baby and feeding that baby. Okay? And even bone fractures that are caused by these are very rare. So this is one of the examples. So now we're going to talk about some bad habits. Some may consider it good habits, but for our body, our health, they are referenced to as bad habits. We are now questioning anybody' life choices, but we are informing. So we know that this can lead to that because science has proven that it's bad for our body. What are those? Sedentary lifestyle. What does that mean? Well, people who spend a lot of time sitting have a higher risk of osteoporosis than those who are more active. So we want to keep moving. Okay? All right. What else? Excessive alcohol consumption. Yeah. You notice it says, oh, hold on just a second. Let's see what's going on here. Yes, we're talking about some things that are considered bad habits. and we were on excessive alcohol consumption. And I was saying, you notice that it says here excessive. What does that mean? Too much. Okay. And we know too much of everything and anything can cause us harm. That's the case. So regular consumption of more than 2 alcoholic drinks increases our risk of osteoporosis. What else? Tobacco use. Yes, you know, the area of tobacco plays, the exact role that tobacco plays in osteoporosis is not well defined, is not clear. However, studies have shown for sure that tobacco use contribute to weak bones, and we know weak bones lead to osteoporosis. So we wanna be careful of that habit as well. Well, we've considered the symptoms, we talk about risk factors. Let's talk now about the consequences and why it matters to know, to be informed, and take action. So, osteoporosis is a bone disease, isn't it? And that occurs when the body loses too much bone, makes too little bone, or both. Okay? And as a result, those bones become weak and may break from a fall or even from sneezing or minor bumps. In serious cases, yeah, when it gets too serious, even just sneezing may break things in your body. It is that serious. So, what other consequences do we have? If not treated, that can lead to serious bone breaks, fractures. Okay, and someone aging that is having a broken bone, a serious fracture, that's going to lead to other issues. And this happens especially in the hip and in the spine. And hip fractures can cause serious pain and disability and might require surgery. And the surgery might not repair it perfectly, you know. So osteoporosis can cause a loss of height due to a broken bone in the spinal column. And this means that our spine is no longer able to support our body's weight. And that causes a hunch posture like that. So it's not just about how you're going to look. Hi, Valerie. Nice to have you here. And thanks for the support. So we're talking today about osteoporosis, and we're talking about the consequences. So what may happen? One of the consequences is a hunch posture, and it's not just about how you're going to look. Hi, Alfred. It's not just about how you're going to look, but along with the look you now have because you've lost height is the pain that comes with it. It's so nice to have you, Rodrigue. Always ready to support. And Renee, thanks to have all of you here today. And we keep on talking about osteoporosis. Hi, Sylvia. So, not only is the way you look different, but also the pain that comes with it. And this pain is there when it happens, but it can also lead to long-term pain. Who wanna be there hurting forever? You know. Hi, Jera Amangua. Allow me to welcome our guests, to welcome our subscribers, to welcome the family bringing support. Hi, Lydia. I see all of you, and it's nice to have each and every one of you at this platform today. President Kabore, I see you as well. So nice to have you. So we're talking today about something that's going to affect us at one point or the other because we all aging, but also that is affecting some people we know, we care for, we love dearly already, which is osteoporosis, the silent killer. So now we were talking about the pain that can become long-term pain. So you can see that this is serious, especially with older people. And what else can happen? That may limit mobility, how much movement you can have. And this is going to lead to more serious things like feelings of isolation or depression, you know. And actually, 20% of seniors who break a hip, they die within 1 year from either complications that might arise or the surgery to repair it, or just because they're isolated and depressed. So this is serious. And many, okay, sadly end up requiring long-term nursing home care. And we all know we don't want to have to leave our loved ones in nursing homes, right? We want them to age beautifully with us in our homes. Or even if they live apart, now they don't have to have pain their whole lives. So this is serious and we want to think about it. So what are the solutions? Well, as we always say, medications that exist, but we're here to talk more about lifestyle changes, natural solutions. What are those that can help with osteoporosis? Well, a healthy diet and exercise can actually help prevent bone loss or strengthen already weak bones. So don't think, well, I'm already having this pain, I'm already having this situation, so I can't have any kind of solutions. There's still something we can do. So we can either prevent it or at least minimize the impact that it's going to have on us or on our loved ones once again. So let's talk about prevention. What can we do? Good nutrition and regular exercise, they are essential. They are vital for keeping your bones healthy throughout your life. We know that, right? So what can we do in terms of exercise regarding osteoporosis? Exercise that can help you build strong bones and or slow down bone loss. And that will benefit your bones no matter when you start. Well, it's better to start sooner than later, but no matter our age today, we can still get started. It's never too late. Okay? And we will gain most benefit if we start early and continue doing it, no matter when we get started. Okay? Let's start now. So we can combine strength training exercises with weight bearing and balance exercises. Why? Because strength training helps strengthen muscles and bones in your arms and upper spine. And weight bearing exercises, what do? Well, they affect mainly the bones in your legs and your hips and lower spine. And balance exercises, they kind of reduce your risk of falling, especially as you get older. So what specifically are we talking about? Well, walking, jogging, running, stair climbing, and please, at your rhythm. Some may be able to go faster, others may need to just take the time. That's fine. Whatever you can do will help. Okay? And even some who are still able to skip rope, that's a really good one too. What else? Well, some like Tai Chi. It's okay to do that as well. But walking, each and every one, no matter our age, is something we can do. So if we put it on to work, at least to walk 15 to 30 minutes each day and to slowly climb up and down the stairs, that will help us. So these are some exercises we can do. What about nutrition? Well, we've heard of protein. Yes, protein is one of the bone building blocks. I repeat it, it's essential protein. Okay, so where do we find protein? Soy, nuts, seeds and eggs and other things that are rich in protein we might want to consume. And there is some supplement that can help too, but we'll get to that in a few minutes. Body weight. When we underweight or we overweight, it could be one of the risks. So we want to take things to build our body weight. If it's too low, we want to bring it up. If it's too much, we want to do what it takes, it takes to be able to maintain an appropriate body weight, which is just right for our bones or for our health in general. Okay, so body weight, we want to work on that as well. What other solution? We've talking about calcium and calcium and calcium. Well, many are aware of that, but usually it's recommended that we have a daily amount to increase it to 1.2 thousand milligram, especially when we are around 50 and over for women, and for men around 70. But if we made sure that throughout our lives we've had enough calcium, then as we aging, we'll do okay. We still need to add to it because we aging still. However, regardless, no matter where we stand right now, what is our age, we can still take in necessary calcium. So we want to do that. So we're talking about nutrition. What food has calcium for us? Well, everybody know about dairy products, milk, right? Dark and green leafy vegetables. Spinach comes to mind and others. What about salmon, sardines with bones? These can help as well. And we've already mentioned soy products for calcium. We're talking about it again. Maybe you're aware of tofu. That can help if you can have it. And calcium fortified cereals and orange juice. These are things where we can find enough calcium. The next in nutrition is vitamin D. Vitamin D improves your body's ability to absorb calcium actually and improve bone health in other ways. So people can get some of their vitamin D from sunlight, but I don't think this is a good idea if you live in high altitude. You live in high latitude, that won't benefit you and you won't be able to get that sunshine. What else can we do? Or what else can make it impossible to benefit from that? If you're homebound, if you're housebound, unfortunately, as we aging, some may have conditions where they're home. They can't go anywhere. So that too may make it impossible to be able to absorb the natural sunlight, right? Or maybe you have skin cancer issue and you can be exposed to that. So there is a block, which means you have to think about other things that will enable you to get the calcium, the vitamin D, the protein we're talking about. That's why we have to think supplements, which is an ultimate solution when we talk about this. Why? Because it's natural, and we have to recognize that today it's not easy to eat properly, is it? It's not easy to get enough protein, calcium, vitamin D from what we eat every day. Our nutrition is poor today. That's why we might taking in supplement, dietary supplement to help us. And people without other source of vitamin D's, and especially with limited sun exposure, like we just mentioned, they might need a supplement too. So what supplements are there that can help us? Well, you name and you guess it, aloe vera gel. It naturally has vitamin D in it. It naturally has the calcium already in it. But also there's a product that I personally take, that I have my mom takes and my husband does take it too, is what? Forever Calcium. And the beautiful thing about that product is that it has together magnesium, vitamin D, and calcium. Boom. We just mentioned that vitamin D is needed for the calcium to be absorbed. So when we have those three together in just one supplement, we want to go for it, don't we? So this can be your solution. Well, this is just a couple of all the supplements that are up there that can help you. So as usual, you want more tips, you have questions, Mana Handy Tips. Yes, will be available ready to answer any questions you might have. So please subscribe. Do not forget that. Subscribe to Mana Handy Tips so you can have access to even the recording of this if you've missed the beginning, or if you want to be able to listen again and help yourself or other people. Mana Handy Tips is the place to go. And there, as is designed, we will exchange thoughts. And I want to commend some of you that have been doing so great, reaching out through Mana Handy Tips. So again, we talk about osteoporosis today. More information can be available regarding supplement, natural remedies, other things, other tips that we can provide. And the place to go is Mana Handy Tips. And I want to thank you so much for your time today. And I'm looking forward to see each and every one of you back when next Saturday. That's the D-Day. All right. I thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to be with you. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye now.